Hello and welcome to World AI, where I'll be teaching you how to create worlds for your books, your games, for your anime, for your webtoons, for your webcomics, and everything in between. Today we're going to be doing a basic overview of what you can do with AI to help you create a world setting for whatever you want to do. Now, I love world building. It's one of my biggest loves in every aspect of anything that I create. I'm the kind of person that will create 10 characters before they actually play through a whole game because I love the aspect of creating the backstory and the lore type stuff more than actually growing the story itself. If you had a look at my Google Drive, I've got about 700 worlds that I've just moved on and thought, I don't like that bit in that idea. This idea will be better, and I've moved on and on and on and on and on. And with the kind of person that I am, AI really helps me to speed it up. So if I diverge from an idea or I get a new one, I can still save everything that I have within a chat in AI. I move on to the next idea, and once I've done that idea, I can move back to that idea and we can carry on going forward. I'm going to be teaching you some very basic prompts, and we're going to be doing it from no idea at all. So for me, I always have a basic idea, but we're going to do it in a way that maybe you don't have an idea. So we're going to start off with asking for some brainstorming ideas. We're going to move on to creating a part of a continent. Then we're going to create a small society within that continent, and we're going to create a small town within that continent. This is going to be a very basic overview of all of that. So let's get straight into it. So starting out with a basic prompt, you're going to be wanting to brainstorm ideas. So whenever you're building a world, you're going to want to think about the genre. For example, I'm going to be picking dark fantasy because it's in between the sort of high fairy loving fantasy and grimdark. Grimdark's probably a bit too much sometimes, and high fantasy is kind of a bit too magical for me. So dark fantasy is best for me. So I'll be writing in here, I am going to create a dark fantasy novel. I would like to brainstorm some ideas for the continent that the book will be based around. Please give me 5 ideas that would work well in this setting. And then it's going to come up with a bunch of ideas. Well, I picked 5 this time, but you can pick 10, you can pick 20, you can pick 30, and it will give you all of those ideas. So it's come up with a few ideas in here. We got the Shattered Continent, the Blight Lands, the Shadowlands, the Frozen Waste, the Volcanic Archipelago, and it will come up with different. Now, for speeding up this process, just for this video, I'm going to pick random ones in here. I would actually go through these ideas and pick bits and pieces of every idea if that's something that's there, or I'll pick an idea that's good and then I'll add my own flow to it. So what you're going to want to do once you pick one of these, the Shattered Continent or the Frozen Waste, we're going to go for the Frozen Waste. Maybe it's a world where it's a more Viking-esque type fantasy. I like the idea of number 4. Let's create part of that continent. And as it says on here, there's relentless and unforgiving people who live here are resilient and resourceful, eking out a living in harsh environment. The Frozen Waste could be home to monstrous beasts and ancient civilizations buried beneath the ice, as well as hidden oases and sources of warmth. So let's create the hidden oasis with an area of warmth for this continent. I would like you to give me some ideas for an ecosystem. So ecosystem is one of the building blocks of world building. Every area in your world will have an ecosystem. So when the ecosystem is built, you can sort of pick the idea of the cycle of life and death. There can be symbiotic relationships, there can be prey predator relationships. There's many different options there. And if you don't know what option you can have, you can also write that in there and say, give me ideas on, as I said, give me some ideas for an ecosystem. I am partial to the idea of predator-prey relationship, and create me some ideas for fauna. And then it's going to come in here and it's going to pick up number 4, the number 4 hidden oasis ecosystem. So it's got geothermal activity and it's going to come up with those ideas. Now, every step of this, you're going to actually want to go in and pick and choose what you like. Now, if you see an idea and in your head you get a creative bit of brilliance and you see, I think this will be really good in that part, then you would take, for instance, I love the idea of geothermal activity, but I would like to remove the idea of mineral rich waters. Maybe you don't want the people there to be able to have resources. They'll have to go outside of that oasis to gather resources. That could add story elements, that could add different subplots involved in order for the people within that area to grow, or any of the other reasons in any sort of thing that you are creating. Now, when you're typing into the AI, you kind of have to be specific in what you want and what you don't want. And you'll be able to see why that is later on. So I do not like the idea of thermal pools. I love the idea of ice cave. And then you'll write that in there, and then it has the different things in it. Now, you're going to be wanting to go through it a lot more than I am, because I'm speeding through it just to give you a basic idea of how you can build a world with AI. So now it's going to come up with the hidden oasis system. Now, if you don't go through all of it, it's just going to assume that you've accepted everything else, and things that you don't like, you have to specify that you don't like. Otherwise, it will remember those. And when you do the thing where I'll teach you about summarizing it later to move on to the next part, then you're going to be able to take this idea and then move on to the next part. So it's added in all of the fauna. It's got shadow stalkers, large pale furred feline. It's got muskox, arcane hares, arctic foxes, snowy owls, glacier ravens. It's giving you some animals there. It's got predator-prey relationships. It's got apex predators, herbivores, mesopredators, scavengers. It's already created that stuff for you. And as I said, you need to pick and choose what you like out of it, or if you have a better idea, make sure to add it in there and tell the AI that you want to change it that way. And the good thing about Gemini Advanced is at the bottom, it will actually give you ideas on what the next step is for you. Now, you can have an outline yourself. You can create the outline of what you want to do in the AI in the beginning. But we're starting with the fractal method, so we're going from small to large. So we're going to have this hidden oasis that's got all of these things. So I'll just give you a quick example if you want to change the herbivores. With the idea of the herbivores, can you make them more magical in nature? Or give me some ideas to brainstorm different creatures. So now it's going to pick that individual part. So the magical or herbivores of the hidden oasis, and it's going to create these magical creatures. Now, if you have ideas of what sort of creatures you want in there, you need to write that in there as well. So for instance, if I want to create I'd like to create a magical pig-like creature that devours minerals and is a pest, for example. That's just a random idea I just came out with just then, and it will add the idea of the magical pig-like creatures. Now, the gluttonous gemboar is given a name. You can change those names, but make sure you tell it you want to change the name. I want to change the name of the gluttonous gemboar to Gemnom. Now, that's a really, really bad name. I'm really bad at naming. That's why I like the idea that AI has helped me a lot in naming things. So you know what? We're gonna do it a little bit differently. We're gonna go, I want to change the name of Gemboar. Give me 5 alternatives that are unique. And it's gonna come in here and it's gonna give you 5 alternatives. Now what you want to do when it does this, or pig, for example, or jewel swine. Jewel swine just sounds a bit British to me, so I'm gonna go for that one. I like number 3. Please update the profile. So now we have that actually in there. We've created the oasis and we've created some of the monsters that are inside of it. Now we've finished this part of it. What you want to do is go into the actual, it's come out with a load of ideas here, loads and loads of ideas, magical aspects, impacts on the ecosystem, considered pests. Because you said they're a pest, it's going to add that into the ecosystem. But what you want to do when you get to the end of this part is you want to go in and you want to write, can you summarize everything we have agreed so far of the continent and the ecosystem? Summarize in detail in a readable format with section titles so we can move to another chat for the next part of the process. And we're going to put that in there, and what it's going to do, it's going to go through the whole chat and it's going to summarize everything we've agreed. So it's agreed on the frozen waste, the hidden oasis ecosystem. It's got the geothermal vents. We didn't want some of the things that are in there, so it hasn't added them, but it's added everything that we did have. So next step, so here's everything we have in here. Magical creatures such as Emberhoof, a glowing elk, luminescent lich and grazer. But what you really want to do, unless you want to keep it in this chat, which you can do if you're going to be doing it in one sitting. If you're going to be doing it in more than one sitting and you don't have that much time, you're going to want to do the summarize of overviews. Now, sometimes it doesn't add in things that you know that are supposed to be in there. So this is when you would write, please, can you add all of the herbivores, including the jewel swine. And then it's going to add all of that in there. So it's going to rewrite that profile that you've done, and it's going to keep all of the creatures that you had in there. So if it's missed out something, the herbivores, crystallized hair, the luminescent lich and grazer, whispering mount, the auroch stag, you're going to be able to keep that in there. So it's got the omnivore pest, the jewel swine. And then what you can do which is going to be the next part of the video, is take all of this, you're going to copy it and open a new chat. What we're going to do now is create the tribe on the continent. We're going to take everything we copied and pasted from the last chat. We're going to go to the top. Here is an overview of the part of the continent we have created, semicolon. Now all that information there, go to the bottom. I would now like to create a tribe for this oasis. Please keep in mind this is a dark fantasy novel. I would like 5 ideas for the tribe. And now, because if we put it into new chat, because we summarized everything we need to do, it's going to give the actual information that we've already created for that part of the world. And then it's going to, without clogging the chat with loads of different things, we can start from the back and we can work our way forward. Now there's 5 different types of people here. There's the shadowbound crystal weavers, the vein callers. The tribe possesses an eerie connection to the subterranean river. They believe the water carries the whispers of the dead and use blood magic. For me, that's a pretty decent idea. It's not the best in the world, but we're going to go with that one. So we're going to say, I love the idea of number 2. Let's flesh this out into a full tribe with societal values, etc. Please put this in a profile format. And then what it's going to do is it's going to create everything that it thinks that you want within the genre and the tone of the novel you're creating, or the game you're creating, or anything that you're creating. So it's going to have theocracy. It's guessed all of these things, and again, you're going to need to go through all of this. You're going to need to check everything that's in there. You're going to need to make sure that everything that you envision for the actual tribe itself is going to be something that you want to have in there. For the sake of this video, so it's not 4 hours long, we're going to go with the values that is created here. So we got customs, the blooding, coming of age ritual. Say there's the whisper dance, the ceremonial dance. Maybe you don't want that idea in there. So you're going to come in here, you're going to write in here, I do not like this idea. Please remove it. Now, remember, as always, when you're actually creating these things, if you don't tell it specifics of things that it's created itself, then it will keep that and it will remember that as something that you've agreed upon. So make sure I like, I don't like, I love, I really don't like, I never want this to be in any part of the world building in the future. It will have that saved in there. So for example, I really do not want any corruption. I hate the idea of corruption in novels and stuff like that. It's just really unoriginal for me, at least personally speaking. I do not want any corruption in any of this world building. Please remember this aspect. So then once it starts doing that, it will tell you I do not like the idea, and it'll start rewriting it again, and it will rewrite it with the stuff that you've not liked. So the whispery dance is disappeared. Everything else is going to still be there. Going to have the customs, which is taking away the whispering dance, the appearance, etc., and the conflict. And that's a really basic way to create a tribe with its own values and customs and culture. You're going to want to go into more details, and I will do an individual video on how to create a society in more detail in its own video. This is just a really quick one to get us through to the next part. So we're going to move on to the next stage. And as always, we're going to go, can you summarize everything we have agreed upon in this chat for this world? Be as detailed as possible with clear sections and a readable format. And then what it's going to do, frozen waste, dark fantasy world, the vein callers, the setting, it's got the frozen waste, the hidden oasis, the ecosystem, emberhoof, crystalback hair, the whispering moss mammoth. It's going to have all of the information you're going to need in here. And if it hasn't got some of the information that you don't that you remember that you need to have in there, make sure you tell it. It's got no corruption, as it's remembered. I do not want any corruption in it at all. The world is still under construction with potential for further development, and it's going to keep that in there. So we're keeping this, and we're going to copy paste this, and we're going to move on to the next stage. Now this time we won't be moving on to a new chat. We're going to do it in the existing chat just to showcase that it can carry on and start with the next idea and keep all those ideas in there. So the last stage of this sort of brief overview on world building with an AI, we're going to create the town itself. So we're going to write in here with the tribe in mind and its cultural aspects. Please give me some ideas for the town/village that they would come from. Keep in mind the setting and tone of the novel. It's kind of all similar in everything that you're going to be doing. So every step you're going to be doing is kind of similar. If you're going to be doing it in a more creative way and you're going to be doing it more in the way that you're going to want to pick and choose everything, it's going to take you much longer. Because we're doing this to make the video not be 25-30 minutes long, we're going through it really quickly, so please keep that in mind. So the first idea has come across with the Whispering Grotto, the Vine Root Hold, the Crystal Spire, the Bone Weave Warren, and the Whispering Willow. Now, these names are not very not very original, so you're going to want to go in and you're going to want to change the names. You're going to maybe not want a central chamber. The Whispering Grotto, the Vein Root Hold, built around the largest opening of the subterranean river where the vein emerges from the depths of the earth. Architecture, multi-tiered structure built into the rock face with dwellings connected by bridges and ladders. The central point is massive stone archway framing the vein's entrance. Now, I actually really like that idea. I've always been a massive fan of subterranean worlds and building cities underground. So for me, I would pick that. I really like number 2. Let's go with that. Please flesh out this idea. Now, when you're asking it to flesh out ideas, it's because you maybe don't have any ideas yourself at the moment in time, and this will give you some ideas so you can pick and choose exactly what you want out of what you're creating. So it's the location is built in the largest open subterranean river. Architecture has gone into more details. It's fleshing out those details for you. And remember, if you don't like, for instance, the bioluminescent lighting, you just go in, copy that. You go in here and say, I do not like the idea of bioluminescent, can't spell, lighting. And then it will remove that idea from the whole thing. As always, go through everything that it's creating, because sometimes there'll be things in there that, it's still an emerging AI. It's still growing and it's still getting that idea. And when you start a new chat, the kind of everything that is creating from you. So it's better to do as much as you can in one setting, in one chat. If you ask for my advice on what you should do, you can do it in separate chats if you only have half an hour here and there to do some creating. Maybe you got a full-time job, maybe you got kids, maybe you got all kinds of other stuff going on. You can only do half an hour at a time. So summarizing is the best way to deal with it. But if you can keep it all into one chat and you can do it over a day, 2 days, then that is perfectly fine. Keep it into one chat so it remembers everything that you are going to put in there. So then at the end, when you've designed your core area, you've created the tribe that lives within it, or multiple tribes. There might be more than one tribe. You just write in there, I'd like this tribe and this tribe to be in this area, and then you can have them sort of have inter relations and sort of get them to either be warlike with each other or trading with each other or anything that will grow the story you're trying to create. So at this point, you're going to actually want to move this into a Google Doc. So you're going to want to copy and paste all of the information that you have here and go into as much detail as possible, because it cannot always write the entirety of everything in one go. And if you move it to a Google Doc, especially when using Gemini Advanced, you can actually get Gemini Advanced to go into your Google Doc and read a specific Google Doc, and it will get all the information from there, and you can start a new chat. So for instance, if there's so much information in the world that you're building that you can't put it into the prompt area. So there is a limit to how much you can put into the prompt area. It's quite a lot. We're talking like 7 pages on a Google Doc to put in, actually copy paste into the prompt area, the one down here. If there's more than that and you want it to read the Google Doc, it will read all of that, and then it will ask you what you want to do in the next step. Now, I haven't got a Google Doc on here ready on this account. This is not my main account. This is a side account that I have for creating the videos, because there's a lot of stuff and information on my main account. I don't want any of that to be going anywhere, but it is an option you can do. So that's all we have for this video. A very basic overview of what you can do in the world building aspects. We created a continent, we created a small area of that continent, we created a society, tribe within that continent, and then created the town within that continent. Remember to go through all of the information that is giving out to you and refine everything you want. And once you're done and you've finalized a certain aspect, move it over to the Google Doc with a clear title. You can say the continent, the name, and then you go to the area Oasis, and you can write areas, and then when you create each area of that part of the continent, you can have that in a list. And then when you go to the society, or like the cultures, the tribes, if it's going to be a tribe based area, you can put the tribes, you can create the different tribes, you put that in there. When you decide if you're writing a novel for your protagonist to be a certain part of that tribe, then you can go in and create the characters itself. I hope this was able to help some of you to get into the more world building aspects. I haven't seen many videos and many creators doing this sort of thing, which is is why I decided to do it. So let me know if there's anything that maybe you didn't like about the video, anything you did like about the video. Let me know in the comments. And if you've had any experience building worlds within any sort of AI, GPT or Gemini or any of the sort of, like, you can go into Sudowrite, the novel place, and create worlds and characters in that way. Let me know down below your experiences and how you find and which is the best AI for you to use. Now, if you did find the content useful, remember to like, subscribe, and just comment down below anything. Just say hello. I don't bite. And I want to thank you all for watching. This is World Forge AI. I am Matt. Take it easy.